the issue of foreign interference seriously. That is precisely why, since our government was elected, we put in place measures to strengthen our democratic institutions. We're continuing to work with opposition parties because Canadians expect all people in this place to put partisanship aside and put the values of protecting our democracy at the forefront. Mr. Speaker, members opposite can laugh, but we take foreign interference very seriously.
Very much.
Hey gang, what's up? Aaron right here, Canadian Looney. So Jennifer O'Connell is a twit from the Liberal caucus. She's attacking everybody all the time. This chick is so woke. Such BS. Let's take a look, a listen to this twit who is, oh my God. You'll be dumber after watching this video, I assure you. Let's take a look.
Madam Speaker, yesterday in this very place, the Leader of the Opposition said he didn't want a national security briefing because he didn't want to be silenced.
Yeah. Wow.
That should tell Canadians just the level of maturity of the Leader of the Opposition. He is not ready to lead this country. He's barely ready to lead an official opposition of this place.
Can't lead a two-car parade.
Madam Speaker, for somebody to suggest that having a national security briefing then silences you on this issue is beyond false, but also beyond comprehension of how little he knows about national security matters. Madam Speaker, I myself have national security clearance because I was a member of the Cpac committee. Yet, I've maintained debate on this issue several times. I am leading the Opposition Day speech in this place. I have spoken out at PROC. I have asked witnesses serious questions. In fact, in my role in the National Defense Committee, I brought forward a motion that we study cybersecurity. Wow, Madam Speaker, all while I have had national security briefings, all while I sat on Cpac, actually while we studied
Somebody should tell Pierre this.
Foreign interference. Yet I've been able to serve my constituents by raising the issues that matter, that by taking national security seriously, and by understanding that you can still advocate for stronger democratic institutions, you can still advocate for stronger legislation and mechanisms, while also protecting the national security information of this country.
Sounds responsible.
That is what responsible members do. If I can do it, as a member of this government, certainly the Leader of the Opposition should be mature enough to understand the importance of national security while still being able to advocate for stronger mechanisms and measures. But the fact that he can't comprehend how to put the national security of this country first, instead of his partisan attacks, again, that should tell Canadians everything they need to know about the seriousness or lack thereof of the Leader of the Opposition, and for that matter, the Leader of the Bloc.
Member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
Carbon tax Carney's Canadian comeback fueled a fiscal feud for this furious finance minister. The Prime Minister forced the finance minister to crash through the $40 billion deficit guardrail promise. The PBO says it'll be at least over $6 billion. Now that the Prime Minister is done using her, he'll dump her for carbon tax Carney. Will the Prime Minister confirm once he fires his finance minister, the deficit won't be a penny over $46 billion?
Good question.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. While that member practices on things that rhyme with F words, our minister actually renegotiated NAFTA with Trump. Our minister introduced supports during a global pandemic to keep businesses and people going. Our minister tomorrow will see a GST tax breaks for Canadians. So while Conservatives practice their rhymes, we're delivering real supports for Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
Their minister is the reason why Canada's economy is crapping out. And just to take dimes off of Doritos, they'll crash the deficit guardrail, taking Canada's finances off a cliff. The Prime Minister forced the Finance Minister to implement it. The PBO confirmed that they're already $6 billion past that fiscal guardrail. Canadians want to know how bad carbon tax Carney and the Prime Minister will smash through the $40 billion deficit guardrail. How bad is it? What is the deficit number?
What is it?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, it's pretty clear that when the Conservatives have no real argument or debate, they just insult people. Because on this side of the House, our Finance Minister has a record of helping people in some of the hardest times that this country has ever faced. A global pandemic, global inflation. We saw another interest rate cut just this week, and tomorrow we will see more tax breaks for Canadians. Something Conservatives promised they'd do, but weren't able to. So what is it, Mr. Speaker? Is it the fact that our plan we're actually implementing, or they can't stand it's a woman doing it?
The Honourable Member for Northumberland, Peter. Order. Order. We made it into 12 questions before we really got too much noise here. Not bad, not bad. This is a record, I'm sure. This must be a record. The Honourable Member.
She just attacks everybody. Like, oh my God, this woke stuff is so tiresome. Jennifer O'Connell, you gotta go.
Calgary Heritage.
Mr. Speaker, we're talking about what could be more than $40 billion. A carbon-taxing, coal-loving Carney, a finance minister on the run, a prime minister not into monetary policy. They hike taxes, they fuel inflation, they crash through the fiscal guardrails and off the cliff. This government is a chaotic clown show. Which one of them will call a carbon tax election?
Just to make sure everybody's, just watch the words that they use. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, we see the Conservatives dive into insults because they actually have no plan for the economy. And I think they just can't stand the fact that we have a finance minister who was able to renegotiate NAFTA with the previous Trump administration. We were able to see supports being delivered to businesses and Canadians through the worst global pandemic. And, Mr. Speaker, we continue to see interest rates drop. And tomorrow we see a tax break for all Canadians. So while they want to know about a free vote, I'm wondering if they'll have a free question.
Honourable Member for Lakeland.
The finance minister actually admits deficits cause inflation. She promised a cap of an already wacko $40 billion, but the prime minister bullied to crash her through that so-called guardrail with billions more. He sets her up to take the fall, and Canadians will pay the price. Now, like a long line of women, the prime minister kicks her to the curb for his conflict of interest carbon tax crony Carney. Is the prime minister really going to bully his female finance minister to read carbon tax Carney's fiscal update and then blame her for breaking the $40 billion deficit promise?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, this is a minister who stood up to Putin, who renegotiated trade deals with the U.S., who worked and helped Canadians get through a global health pandemic. Mr. Speaker, she doesn't get bullied, but it seems that perhaps the Conservative caucus is projecting the fact that if they don't read the Conservative leaders' lines, if they don't rhyme enough, they don't get question time. So while we are working and focused on providing tax relief to Canadians, Conservatives are making sure they rack up those gold stars.
The Honourable Member for Lakeland.
Look, we all know the Prime Minister says women experience him differently, but it's his pattern to elbow them to the side, and it's sad to see a woman spinning for him. He's incompetent, unaccountable, and bullies subordinate women, blames and shames them, then replaces them with his buddies. He's aggressively recruited carbon tax Carney, yet calls himself a proud feminist. Canadians can't afford this. Will this complete weak fake stop all the hypocrisy and admit his inflationary spending forces the finance minister to break her $40 billion deficit promise?
Wind it down right there, guys. Jennifer O'Connell is always on the attack. Just firing, spitting venom all the time. Aaron, Canadian Looney, like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching this video. Jennifer O'Connell, these Liberals, you all have to go. We need an election very much. Thanks for watching the video. Catch you next one. Ciao. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.